Hello everyone and welcome back to Great Tech Today. I'm Will, and as always my goal is to bring you succinct computer component and hardware reviews in 10 minutes or less. Today I'm bringing you a review of AMD's newest offering, the AMD Radeon 7 graphics card. So without further delay, let's get to this. So the AMD Radeon 7 is a graphics card released in response to NVIDIA's RTX series of graphics cards. The card is not, however, on the Navi architecture that most of us have been waiting on for several months now. The card comes in at an MSRP of $699, which is on par with the RTX 2080. A little cheaper than the 2080 actually, but still on par with it. The Radeon 7 is built on TSMC's 7nm process, which is an update to the previous Vega cards, which were built on the GlobalFoundries 14nm process. This should help the card have better efficiency overall compared to the previous generation of cards. The Radeon 7 comes with 3,840 stream processors, which when compared to Vega 64's 4,096 is a little less, and Vega 56 has 3,584 stream processors. The core clock on the Radeon 7 comes at a base clock of 1400 MHz and a boost clock up to 1750 MHz versus Vega 64's 1156 MHz base, 1471 MHz base, and Vega 56's base clock of 1247 MHz and a boost of 1546 MHz. The Radeon 7 comes with a whopping 16 GB of HBM2 memory, whereas the Vega 64 and Vega 56 both come with 8 GB of HBM2 memory, and this memory is most likely the main reason for the excessive price, in my opinion, for this card. It's a lot of 16 gigabytes of RAM on any video card, in my opinion, is quite excessive. But this may be more in line with people who are using this for certain video editing programs, as some take quite the advantage of the architecture that AMD uses within their cards. As we can see here, the TDP for this card is 300 watts. And the reference card is a 3-fan card. It comes with 3 display ports and an HDMI port for video output. And to power the card, there are 2 8-pin PCIe power connectors. AMD recommends a 750 watt power supply to power the system with this card in it. Now let's get to the benchmarking and how we tested this. So for my test system, I used my Intel Core i7-8700K, which is clocked at 5.1 GHz. It's cooled by the Corsair H115i Pro RGB 280mm liquid cooler. It comes with a G.Skill Trident Z 3200 MHz CL16 RAM, 16 gigabytes. It's built on the ASRock Z370 Extreme 4 motherboard and is powered by the Be Quiet Straight Power 11 1000 watt power supply, and it's built inside of the Be Quiet Silent Base 801. This is a good time to inform you that this video and pretty much every video I do is sponsored by Be Quiet. They did send me over the Silent Base 801 and the Straight Power 11 power supply, so for that I'm very thankful. So thank you, Be Quiet, for helping me out here and helping a small content creator try to grow his channel. Once again, I appreciate it. Thank you very much. For benchmarking, I did use Fraps. I also used the Riva Tuner statistics that comes with, or that you can install along with the MSI Afterburner if you decide to use that. I used the in-game benchmark mode if it was available. If not, I just did 5 runs on the games for around 15 minutes each run, and just took an average of those runs. All games were tested at a resolution of 1440p with the quality setting at maximum. Well, there's an error. Sorry about that. Stream processors don't matter here, obviously. Games tested were Fortnite, Battlefield 1, Monster Hunter World, Rise of the Tomb Raider, Far Cry 5, and Resident Evil 2. The drivers used were the AMD Adrenalin 19.2.1, which were released February 7th, 2019, And again, using Riva Tuner statistics and Fraps, obtained the minimum 1% low FPS and average FPS. And all games were tested and out-of-box setup. So no overclocking here on this card. I think there were some reports anyway that overclocking wasn't available in the initial drivers. I didn't even try to overclock this card even with the new Adrenaline drivers. So how did the games fare? How did the card fare running these games? Let's take a look. So first up was Fortnite, which is arguably still the most popular game on the planet right now. The game doesn't require a lot to run and runs well on just about every system and current graphics card on the market. During my runs on Epic quality, the Radeon 7 managed a minimum of 91 FPS and an average of 105 FPS. This isn't a bad start for AMD's newest offering. Battlefield 1 was up next. This game is also a game that has never really been too difficult to run, and it proved so again with the Radeon 7, as it managed a minimum of 109 FPS and an average of 168 FPS. I tested Monster Hunter World next, and saw a minimum of 55 FPS and an average of 66 FPS. Monster Hunter World is difficult to run on even the best hardware, so this isn't too shocking of a result, in my opinion. Rise of the Tomb Raider was up next. The Radeon 7 managed 73 FPS minimum and an average of 91 FPS, so another pretty decent result. Far Cry 5, which is a game sponsored by AMD and will run pretty well on this card, was able to get a minimum of 91 FPS and an average of 115 FPS. And finally, the newest game to my test week, Resident Evil 2, and it would be the last game that I tested. I was able to get a minimum of 102 FPS and an average of 113 FPS. So, in conclusion, there you have it. The Radeon 7 does very well in this small sample size and in a variety of games, which about half favor NVIDIA, typically, and half favor AMD. At $699, this is still a bit steep for the graphics card of this caliber. However, given it is the highest end card for AMD right now, and it competes with the $750 to $800 RTX 2080, $699 isn't terrible. The problem now is that given the new release, it's going to be extremely hard to get your hands on one with limited supply. Still, at this price, even right now, I cannot recommend it. If you must have AMD, go with a Vega 64, which can be found currently for around $400 to $450, which is under the MSRP for that card, and you only lose about 10% of the performance that you're getting with the Radeon 7. Overall, probably the best card to go with AMD-wise right now for price to performance may be the Vega 56. I have it as well, and I have the Vega 64 as well. I prefer the 64. A lot of people prefer the Vega 56. When you can get a Vega 64 for $400 and a 56 for $300, $350, you're probably looking at a 56 for $350 now. So I would definitely consider the Vega 64. But that's it. Thanks for stopping by and checking out the channel. I hope to see you again next time. Be sure to leave me a comment below. Subscribe if you like the content and you want to see more content of this 10 minutes or less tech reviews. And don't forget to leave a like. I appreciate it. Again, you guys stopping by and all the support that you and everyone else is giving me. Thanks again and have a great day, guys.